What if the internet existed in the 1800s? Imagine the world we live in today, but instead, we rewind the clock and introduce this groundbreaking invention centuries earlier. How would society morph under the waves of instantaneous communication? Let's dive into this fascinating alternate reality. Picture this. It's the year 1800. Horse-drawn carriages clatter through the streets, and telegrams are the fastest form of communication. Suddenly, people stumble upon a high-speed network connecting them globally. The internet, fueled by steam power and ingenuity, creates a new frontier of communication that will forever reshape the fabric of society as we know it. Let's explore a few core areas where the impact of an early internet would resonate: communication, commerce, culture, and conflict. Firstly, let's consider communication. In our current reality, the internet has turned the world into a global village, breaking down geographical barriers. With the internet in the 1800s, letters could take weeks to reach their destination, but with real-time communication, news would travel at the speed of light. Well, almost. Imagine if the telegraph evolved rapidly into something akin to email, allowing business deals, scientific discoveries, or revolutionary ideas to spread instantly. How would the Enlightenment thinkers, the artists, and the inventors thrive in a world where they could share their thoughts immediately with their peers across oceans? The profound changes wouldn't stop there. We'd witness a dramatic transformation in how revolutions were organized. Imagine the Bastille falling in France, but instead of handwritten pamphlets, citizens are mobilizing through an online platform, coordinating movements with precision and speed. Would the American Revolution have gained more support if colonialists had the internet to rally sympathizers and spread their message without delay? Given the rapid dissemination of ideas, another layer of complexity emerges: reform movements. Imagine abolitionists sharing information across the United States, linking abolitionist communities, and rallying support with the touch of a button. Pivotal moments in history could be amplified or changed entirely due to this newfound access to information and collaboration. Let's turn our gaze to commerce. The 1800s saw the birth of industrialization, a time when factories sprang up and trade flourished. Now envision the impact of an e-commerce landscape bursting into existence alongside it. Small artisans could reach customers far beyond their geographic confines. A weaver in rural England could showcase their textiles in a bustling marketplace online, competing directly with textile mills. Trade routes would be redefined, and economic power would shift dramatically. Entire economies could rise or fall based on how strategically communities harness their online connections. In addition to commerce, we can now consider culture and media. Journalism would no longer be confined to the ink on paper. Instead, there'd be no limit to content sharing. A revolutionary article on social reform could go viral overnight, triggering immediate public discourse. Literature could evolve as well. Think of Charles Dickens harnessing the internet to garner instant feedback from readers, or even implement serialization of his work, creating a direct engagement between the author and the audience unlike ever before. But here's the catch. The internet's presence in the 1800s would also bring unique challenges. Misinformation and propaganda could just as easily spread across this web of communication. Conflicts would escalate as warring nations could employ social media strategies, rallying their citizens to war with swift propaganda. The dynamics of war would shift dramatically with propaganda disseminated in real time, altering not just the battles fought but the perception of entire nations. Would World War I, which erupted in part from complex political tensions, have taken on a different shape? Would industrial espionage become the norm, creating a race not just for arms but for ideas? Next, we need to consider the impact on education. Schools in the 1800s were sparse and often contained. Imagine a world where students could access the world's knowledge from the comfort of their homes. With online resources, education could democratize learning. Paradigm shifts in pedagogy might arise with interactive learning modules. Students would no longer be restricted by geographic boundaries. Bright minds could connect, collaborate, and innovate together. As education expands, we'd also see a flourishing of arts and sciences. Scientists collaborating on breakthroughs in real time, artists sharing their work instantly, could reshape not only the landscape of art, but even the development of scientific theory. Think of Galois or Pasteur sharing their discoveries online, sparking discussions and revisions instantly. The Age of Enlightenment would not just illuminate, it would explode into a radiant spectrum of collaboration, unleashing a cascade of innovation unheard of in our timeline. Now let's shift our focus to the environment. Can you imagine how quickly the implications of industrialization would be felt globally if people could communicate those worldwide realities instantly? Awareness about pollution and climate change may have arisen sooner. Advocacy could gain traction faster, forcing a discussion on sustainability generations ahead of our actual timeline. Consider this. If the internet had existed in the 1800s, the very fabric of human interaction would be woven differently. How would our cultural narratives change? Interactions across class and race would evolve through the exchange of ideas and the creation of new cultural movements. The arts could flourish in a collaborative environment rather than isolating geniuses in segregated art movements. The impacts would reverberate, challenging the power dynamics of the day. Traditional gatekeepers of information and culture would find their roles threatened by this new democratization. The public wielding the power of communication. What kind of political or social upheavals might arise? Despite the considerable strides, potential pitfalls linger. Heightened surveillance and the risk of oppression under regimes less friendly to freedom of information might become normalized. As the yearning for control over the narrative clashes against the people's desire for knowledge and expression, how would societies reconcile these tensions? As we close this exploration into a world where the internet was born in the 1800s, one question looms: how intimately intertwined would our histories be? By revisiting critical moments through our lens of scrutinizing history through the present day, we might just uncover deeper understandings of human progress. In this speculative thought experiment, we're reminded of the influence communication has in shaping societies. What if we took this knowledge and applied it to our future? Can we leverage modern technology wisely and consider future implications in this evolving narrative of humanity? Subscribe for more speculative explorations. We'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you think our world would be different if the internet existed in the 1800s? Leave a comment below. Let's continue this fascinating conversation about history, technology, and the boundless possibilities of humanity's interconnected future.